Hey there, everybody. Eric Chessen, founder of Autism Fitness, leading the movement for movement here. And if you are ready to become an Autism Fitness certified pro and bring the best possible fitness and adapted PE programs to the autism and neurodiverse people in your community, then head on over to autismfitness.com. The link is in the description below. And in this Tuesday training, we are going to cover the PAC profile, perspective, physical, adaptive, and cognitive with one of our pillar strength and stability exercises, the squat. And with my buddy Zeke here, what we're going to see is that when he's performing the squat, there are some competing behaviors. And there are sometimes things that we're going to intervene with in terms of an off-task behavior. And sometimes we just need to let it kind of fade itself out. And this is all very situationally dependent if we're breaking it down into antecedent behavior consequence. There are some competing stimuli that we just can't compete with sometimes, and we never want to, force an outcome or try to override a behavior, so to speak. All right, so let's take a look at this video as I share my screen. So here you go, you see Zeke, we're all set up for squats. Now, let's go through this physical, adaptive, and cognitive style. That's what we do in the PAC profile. That's what you'll get in your Autism Fitness Level 1 certification. So you can see starting off, what is the environment? What is the setup? Environment being, what do we have set up for the athlete so that they have the highest possible degree or opportunity for success? So, and success means a couple different things. In the case of physical performance, we're talking about having an elevated platform, this box along with the ab mat pad up here. And you can't see it just yet, but I'm holding a band for upper body support. The reason this is critical is because without these physical supports, the squat is not going to have the benefit that a squat can have. There's a lot of compensatory movement here. The athlete doesn't have a good sense of kinesthetic awareness in terms of the squat. So we have to have this structure in place so that he gets the most out of the squat. This is something that you absolutely, positively cannot overlook. And again, this is something that you get in the certification, the progressions, and often more importantly, the modifications for each exercise. So here we go. So you see initially an immediate delay in performance. So he has the band, you can see it a little better now, setting up those feet a little wide for a base. Squat's not bad. And right here, we go to, and I'm sure many of you see this, this is what we would refer to as a competing stimuli or a perseverative behavior. There is probably a little piece of this box, which is plastic, that he's scratching away at because he is hypersensitive to those aberrant stimuli, like extra stuff going on here. So I am not going to go into a blocking procedure because number one, it's going to do no good. Number two, I still want to respect the athlete, and there's no point in forcing this at all. What I can do is help to facilitate. So I'm working on getting his hand back on the band, and here again, not going to force it, but a little tap, a reminder that he's still doing the squat right now. And this can go on. I'll pause it right now. So what I tried to do is try to get his hand back on the band. That's a no-go right now. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit because this does take some time here as well. So still picking away at the box. And you know what? From an adaptive standpoint, he's not what we would refer to as available just yet or ready to complete this squat. So right now, the competition that we have for performance or completing the squat, because keep in mind the reality of the situation right now is he's getting absolutely nothing out of this squat. It's way too long a latency between sitting or well, we would call it squatting, but in this case, it's really sitting to the box and standing back up and performing multiple repetitions. So is he getting anything physical out of this exercise right now? No, he's not. That's just the reality of the situation. So but the thing we need to focus on the most right now is the adaptive or motivational component of it. So we're seeing pretty significant off-task behavior in as much as he's not wandering off, he's not running out of the gym. At the same time, this is something that is perseverative. So he's not available yet to perform the squat. All right, so fast forwarding a little bit and still picking at this box right here. And in this case, there are a couple options. So one of the options that I have that I don't use is we could go and do another exercise and come back to this to the squat. That's an option. In this case, I chose to wait it out for a little bit here because I know this athlete really well. I know this is going to continue to perseverate. However, and you'll see this in the next video, the next set can go really well also. So this is about a minute and a half, 2 minutes later, and now he's back focused, back on task. That situation with picking at the box seems to have ended right now. And keep in mind, we always want to look at the function of the behavior. That was not an escape maintain behavior. That was perseverative because there was something on that box that caught his attention and he needed to complete that behavior. It needed to be followed through upon. So now we're back to the squat. Here we go. And a little bit better now. We're getting a rep and then little pause and getting the next rep. So if we break this down now physically, he's getting a lot more out of this set, and adaptively, much more on task, much more focused, right? And cognitively, does he understand the expectation for this exercise right now? Yeah, absolutely. It's clear that he understands that the squat is sitting down to the box and then standing back up. Of course, he needs a little support with that, and that is perfectly fine because that's where he's at right now in terms of that squat. So I'm going to bring it up to the next video here, and this is just the next set that he's doing. And you can see I've fast forwarded this a little bit. So now performance after this rep is going to look a lot better. So now he's got that squat. It's at the appropriate height for him. Little prompt to come on up. There we go. So there's 2 reps. So this is a very, very good argument for doing many more sets than we might think we need to with an athlete. One, physically, they need the practice with it. They need to develop the technique, and that's what's going to have the training effect. Second, from an adaptive perspective, we may have a first set where there's a lot of off-task behavior or competing stimuli, and then we get to this set, which comparatively looks fantastic, right? So now we're getting squat, pause, and stand up. So now we're getting a much better performance physically, adaptively, and cognitively. Again, it's not a case of the athlete does not understand what the expectation for performance is. He just needs some support around it. So those were 2 sets during the same session. And the takeaways here should definitely be, number 1, from a physical perspective, we need to, again, critical, understand what the exercise is, what it is supposed to do, and then how to best support our athletes with a progression. More likely, a lot of times when we're working with the autism or neuroadaptive population, we need a modification, simplifying the exercise so that the athlete gets the most out of it. From an adaptive perspective, what's going on here, how do we focus on it? How do we optimize that both for the athlete and for the situation as a whole? In this case, the competing stimuli was there in the environment. So I knew that in this case, waiting it out was probably the best, not a perfect approach, but probably the best approach given this athlete and giving the history there. And finally, cognitively, does the athlete understand the expectation for performance? Yeah, once he's squatting and once he's focused, he's squatting and he's focused. So we're good there. So rather than Sometimes a visual schedule or a narrative is a great idea. Sometimes having a choice board or having a something to check off is an awesome idea. I know this athlete really well. In that case, adding to that is just going to be another distraction. So it seems, just silly simple, but in this case, waiting it out is the best practice, right? So, and then cognitively, again, understands the expectation for performance. Once he's focused, he's doing it. So there you have it, some squats with Zeke. And finally, that last takeaway, do multiple sets, because it's going to create the training effect, and it's also going to enable that athlete to have a better experience due to more experience with that particular exercise. Hope that's been helpful for you. I'm Eric Chessen, founder of Autism Fitness. If you are ready to become an Autism Fitness Certified Pro, you can go over to autismfitness.com. You can register today, begin your coursework immediately, and then meet me for your live virtual practical that are set up all throughout the year in different time zones where you can get the hands-on, brains-on training that you and your athletes deserve.